Hey, this is an interesting story coming out of the Mirror. Haunted pub boss, quote unquote, lives in fear after being seriously hurt in set of spooky incidences. So, as you know, I'm always a fan of the unexplained, so this story certainly popped out. A pub landlord has said he is living in fear after a series of spooky events at his pub. Now, I would imagine that any ghost that you would have in a pub would be pretty raucous. You know, it would be pretty intense, especially if it was a former customer of the pub. So imagine like if Cheers was haunted and Norm was there and he's not getting a beer. I would imagine that some serious things are going to happen, like things being flung and, some pretty upset ghosts. So Nigel Ramsay, the manager of the Crown Inn in Lower Peover, Cheshire, was hit on the head by a metal bar in the beer cellar earlier this year, which resulted in a hospital stay due to a brain bleed. Now, that is not your typical, accident. That's something that's serious. Anything with the head. Now, if you saw the previous story that I reported on with the college student who got hit in the head with a bullet, that's probably worse, I would imagine. But brain bleed, this is right up there. I definitely can't even imagine. Nigel has recovered and now returned to work, but has since experienced a number of unexplained incidences. These include a stool collapsing under him, glasses swaying on their own, and a TV remote flying across the bar. You might want to check what you have on the TV. The ghost might not be interested in your programming. Just a thought. Or if you have sports on, maybe its favorite team is not doing well. That would explain, I think, partly the remote flying in the air. Nigel shared his experiences with psychic medium Deborah Davies and Lindsay Steer from the Ghosts of Britain Paranormal team. Now, that might be a show. I'm not familiar with it. They conducted a ghost investigation at the pub, the results of which have left Nigel feeling terrified. Anytime you have to bring in a ghost hunter, safe to say that there are definitely weird things going on, because especially if it's a show or people with a reputation, they're going to go there a couple of times before actually filming or reporting on it. So here's a picture of Nigel Ramsay, the manager of the Crown Inn. Looks like a pretty tough guy, and it's funny because when I think of a pub or a bar in the United States, it's a lot different. I mean, this almost looks like, just from the background, that it's a cafe or a nice little luncheonette, but I know it's a pub. So I don't really know what the differences are, but decor-wise, I that would be the last thing I imagine as a pub. That's just me, though, maybe. Okay, so yeah, this must be former Real Housewives of Cheshire star Debbie. Wow, I didn't even know that across the pond. I thought this was just something that we had to deal with, these Real Housewives. So I guess it's popular. I guess it's international. She said, had to go back and clear the place after hearing the most chilling EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recording, that I have ever heard in my entire life. Well, that's certainly testimony. Deborah has advised Nigel that he should not be alone in the pub, which is hard when you're the manager. You're expected to close up. They have looked into the history of the pub and the area and believe there is a ghost of a young girl who died 200 years ago in the village, and that she was murdered. Now, if this is true, I can imagine that with any sort of traumatic experience, it must leave some sort of residue. I don't know if it's a ghost or just bad energy. Who knows? I would say, though, if there is a chance that this is a ghost, it would make sense why the ghost would be angry, especially having such a horrible demise and being so young. Deborah believes there is also the nasty ghost of a man who murdered the child stalking the pub. Now, I just got chills. That is super creepy. Who is behind the spooky happenings to Nigel. Nigel explained, quote, I took over the pub in March this year, and in the first week I was in the back cellar and was closing the door on a Friday night, and an iron bar fell down off a hook and hit me in the center of the forehead. So this wasn't his first foray. I mean, I would imagine after that, if I thought it was a ghost, I certainly wouldn't be returning to the pub. I would probably tender my resignation, but he probably thought maybe it's just a horrible accident. But after this second time, if you need the job, I understand, but how bad do you need a job? I would definitely try to find another one. Send that resume out. Okay, so we see that. Okay, so they give a little bit about the story. I recommend going to the Mirror and reading about it. Okay, Nigel began to conduct his own research into the pub. Good idea. Nigel shared a chilling tale. I found out that a young girl named Maria Rathbone died here in December 1821. Little girl lost was the story. She was basically sent to the shop in the frozen winter and got lost. Horrible. And no one would ever let her in. Well, that doesn't seem very pleasant. I mean, I would imagine in a small village you let people in. He continued, she was found dead 400 yards from here, still with bacon under her arm. She was just under 8 years old. That is horrific. Doesn't matter if it's 200 years ago or today, it's still horrific. And what a horrible thing. A gentleman found her and had this dream that a girl was found under a holly bush. They found her. They had the inquest and wake for her in this pub. So that would make sense why her ghost would be attached to a pub if there is a ghost. So let's see. We'll read a little bit more. They found that she had perished to death. Yes. However, okay, but when I sent this to Deborah Davies, she said she thinks the ghost is saying that she was murdered. Okay, that changes everything. Videos of the ghost hunt have become an internet sensation, and Nigel revealing that people are constantly asking if they can stay at the pub to see the spirits. Those are pretty brave souls. I think some people think, oh yeah, I'm just going to check out a ghost, and it'll be cool. I'll see some things moving on a shelf, but I'll tell you, if you're going to receive the same treatment as Nigel did with a crowbar to the forehead or getting hit in the head with a piece of metal, you might want to rethink your plans. So guys, what do you think about this? Is this a story that's interesting to you? Have you ever experienced a ghostly visitation? Have you ever been assaulted by a ghost? Or have you ever had a situation where you were hit in the head and you thought it might be a ghost? If you have, or if you just have any comments to leave, please leave your comments down below. Please like and subscribe. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. We need the subscriptions. Thank you for coming down the rabbit hole with me. Have a great one.